Test 1 2. There we go. And we're on. Hey everybody, and welcome to Politics, Culture, and some other shit. I hope you're well. It's Wednesday night, May Day, International Workers' Day. We'll be talking about that. We're going to be talking about, again, the continuation of the university violence in the United States of America, and more about why it's happening rather than the fact that it is. I'm sure you all know why it is, or know that it is happening, but we're going to talk about, well, again, I'm going to get into some stuff for you. Good socialist stuff today. That's what we're going to talk about. Yeah, I want to thank Darren Matthews for joining me on Sunday morning previous. So if you haven't checked that episode out, you should do that. Darren, stand-up comedian, an all-round good guy, came down from Belfast, South Armagh man, but he lives up in Belfast now. And he came down and yeah, got a bit of crack, talked turkey, and it was good episode. Really enjoyed it. Just to let you know, next week I think I'm going to have two interviews. One with Paddy Fox, ex-Republican and IRA prisoner, who is busy involved in the fight for justice for the victims, just for the information. His own mother and father haven't been murdered by loyalists, and there's been a lot of, basically the government is involved in the cover-up about that, which shouldn't surprise anyone. So we're going to talk about that. And I spoke about Paddy, I spoke with Paddy before, a few years ago, when there was more disclosures coming to light, and I reached out on Twitter and I was introduced to Paddy, and we managed to have a great conversation. So if you want to go and check that out as well, there's a bit of research for that episode when it drops next week, I think. And going to be talking also to a young man, a dub called Dara Adelaide. I'll have to just make sure I get the pronunciation of his name right before I start talking to him. But I'll show you the video where he kind of went viral with this one, and it's to do with the current immigrant, refugee, asylum seeker situation in the south. It's all up in the air at the minute. As you know, the British government is basically, I think what they're going to do is they're going to end up sending the because they're not going to get to send them to Rwanda. That's clearly not going to happen. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to send them to the north of Ireland, and with the hope and the expectation that they will filter south, and then that's them in the European Union. And I think that's going to happen. Well, that's what's happening. So yeah, so we're going to talk about all of that next week. So two good episodes I think are going to be next week. I'm really looking forward to it. And obviously Darren is going to be sort of my co-host going forward rather than a guest. Don't know if I made that clear. So I'm hoping that Darren will be able to join me more often than not. He's a very busy man, but if we could get him once a week would be fantastic. So yeah, so let's go. Just for those of you, and so as always, I have to do the plug for the Patreon. Head over to Patreon, Politics, Culture, and some other shit on Patreon. And if you want to sign up for £1 a month, I only have the one tier. That's all. £1 a month. It just helps keeps the lights on here at Super 8 Ecotronic. And if you don't want to sign up to a Patreon, I understand that everyone's asking you to do that, and I get it. But if you wanted to throw a couple of quid into the bucket, you can head over to Buy Me a Coffee. Again, same Politics, Culture, and some other shit. And you can just make a one-off sort of wee donation, just throw a couple of pound into the bucket. So there we go. And for those of you listening, as always, you can go to YouTube and you can watch the video. There is a video of this where you can see my pretty face. Why you would want to, I've no idea. Excuse me one moment. I'm actually going to take my. I've got a sweatshirt on and I'm dying a thousand deaths. It's too warm, so I'm just going to take that off. Excuse me. There we go. Whew. You wouldn't want me fainting in the middle of the thing, would you? There we go. That's me. Better. Much more comfortable. So let's get to it. So today is May Day, International Workers' Day, or for us Irish pagans, Beltane. Basically, first day of. It's not the first day of spring, but it is sort of this. It's a signifier of that, and it's one of those um, special holy days for an Irish culture. But it's International Workers' Day, so we're going to. That's what we're going to talk about, and I'm going to read to you an article from the Morning Star online. I think I've actually read this before on one of my previous podcasts from many years ago, a few years ago. So, and it's May Day, Happy May Day. So here we go. What is May Day? Well, you're about to find out. Why is it significant? Also, there's a rally in Belfast on Saturday, leaving from Raiders Square in Belfast. That's Saturday, the 4th of May. All the unions all gather up in their colours and march to the City Hall, and they usually have a couple of fantastic speakers. I was at it last year. I think it was at it the past couple of years. Last year, Mick Lynch was the speaker. So I don't know who's the speaker this year, the main speaker, but if they could get someone of his stature, that would be fantastic. I won't be able to make it because, as you know, I will be gigging in Kilkenny, but I'll tell you more about that in a moment. So let's get to it. May Day. All over the world, red banners are flying as working people celebrate May Day. Workers all over the world will come together to demonstrate and celebrate May Day, the International Workers' Holiday. Let us explore the two parallel histories of this important day. One is the workers' celebration when red banners fly in the spring sunshine all across the globe, and another more traditional celebration of the end of winter and the approach of a better weather of summer. So, all over Europe, really all over the world, really, it's changing of the seasons and all our ancient cultural our ancient cultures and our ancestry. This day was a significant day anyway, before the advent of the the socialist May Day. Both of these themes are related, of course. It is no coincidence that they both look forward to the celebrations of better times to come. There are a whole number of reasons that May Day, or May the 1st, has become a special day for workers. One key anniversary was the commemoration of the 1886 Haymarket Affair in Chicago. Police gunfire killed at least 4 demonstrators and injured many more who had been taking part in a labour march. On Tuesday, the 4th of May, 1886, at Haymarket Square in Chicago, workers organised a peaceful rally in support of those striking for an 8-hour day. A dynamite bomb was thrown at the police as they tried to disperse the meeting. The bomb blast and ensuing gunfire resulted in the deaths of 7 police officers. At least 4 civilians were killed and scores of others were wounded. In 1889, the first Congress of the Second International Meeting in Paris called for international demonstrations on the 1890 anniversary of the Chicago killings. May Day was formally recognized as an annual event at the Communist International's Second Congress of 1891. In 1904, the International Socialist Conference, meeting in Amsterdam, called on for demonstrations on May the 1st for the legal establishment of an 8-hour day. In many countries, including here in Britain, working class organisations fought to make May Day an official holiday, and their efforts largely succeeded. May Day has traditionally been an important official holiday in countries such as the People's Republic of China, North Korea, and Cuba. For many years in the former Soviet Union and other socialist countries, the day was celebrated by huge televised demonstrations, including military parades, and we'll be showing you one of those in a moment. May Day celebrations typically featured elaborate popular pageants and parades with major communist leaders using the day to make keynote speeches. The biggest of these celebrations was traditionally organised on Red Square, where the General Secretary of the CPSU and the other party and government leaders stood on Lenin's mausoleum, acknowledging the crowd. Just who was or who wasn't on the May Day was often an indication of changes of the party hierarchy. Kremlin watchers studied the TV pictures, searching for clues of real or imagined inter party rivalries. Still do that? It's mad. Cold War military experts did the same thing with the military hardware parade, looking for scraps of evidence of new weapon systems. They still fucking do this. It's brilliant. Just he's talking about about to talk about Korea here, but you know whenever they show you, you see something comes up on the news, and it says it show you something from North Korea. Some general isn't at the front of the table of dignitaries or the up on the balcony with Kim Jong Un, and you say, it's reported that he was strapped to a cannon and blown to pieces or something like that. And the guy turns up 6 months later, and they don't mention that they'd just been telling you that he'd been blown up. Fucking brilliant. Um, Despite Trump and Kim Jong Un's recent talks, by the way, this article's from 2019. In Hanoi, pundits will be doing exactly the same today, with TV from North Korea's May celebrations being closely scrutinised. Meanwhile, far right governments have traditionally sought to repress the message behind International Workers' Day, with fascist governments in Portugal, Italy, Germany, and Spain abolishing the workers' holiday over the years. The US and Canada do not officially recognise May Day, despite the fact that the workers' holiday of May Day was inspired by the Haymarket incident in Chicago. The May Day isn't officially recognised in the US itself. The US government attempted to erase history by declaring that May Day was Law Day instead. They pronounced that Labour Day was to be on the first Monday of September. However, the red flags still fly and the workers still march in every major US and Canadian city on May Day. And they will this year, much to Donald Trump's annoyance. Again, as I remind you, this article was from 2019. So there you go. No, actually, I'm going to just read a wee bit more. Meanwhile, in Cuba today, on May Day, thousands march in the streets showing their support for the popular revolution. In Greece, May the 1st is a public holiday marked by demonstrations in which left-wing political parties and unions participate. The first May Day celebration in Italy took place in 1890. It started initially as an attempt to celebrate workers' achievements. It was abolished under the fascist regime and immediately restored after the Second World War. And today, May Day is an important celebration in Italy. More than 500,000 people will attend socialist and communist organised rallies, events, and concerts. May Day was celebrated illegally in Russia until the February Revolution enabled the first legal celebration in 1917. It was a huge celebration in the Soviet years, and since 1992, May Day is officially called the Day of Spring and Labour and remains a major holiday in present day Russia. Again, I'm going to show you a little bit video from Russia. In South Africa, Workers' Day, long banned by apartheid racist forces, has been celebrated as a national public holiday on May the 1st every year since 1994. International Workers' Day, also known as Labour Day and May Day, is observed in China with a 3-day holiday. So you can see this is a true international. This is all over the world. There are speeches by party officials, award ceremonies for model workers, and large-scale evening gala. May Day, of course, is a very old celebration. Here we get into it. Much older than its history as a workers' holiday. The Celtic pagan festival of Beltane, which I've spelt wrong in this article, and the Germanic festival of Walpurgis Night are both part of its rich parentage. Traditionally, this is a day that has been an occasion for popular and often raucous celebrations. Early accounts tell us of young people taking to the woods on the eve of the 1st of May with predictable results. Hubba hubba. As you would expect, the Christian church tried to hijack and clean up the whole celebration. They were not very successful. Marxist historian Eric Hobsbawm declared May Day the only unquestionable dent made by the secular movement in the Christian or any other official calendar. Many Christmas carols started life as pagan Maying songs. God Rest You Merry Gentlemen was originally sung as Here's to You Merry Mayers All. In 1955, the Pope claimed May Day was the feast of St. Joseph the Worker. Joseph, it seems, was the patron saint of we workers. And as so, as the Christian tactic was often, if you can't beat them, just nick their happiest celebrations. The church got away with it. And Christmas and Easter have had a lot less success with May Day. In Britain, it wasn't until 1978 that the Labour government created May Day as an official bank holiday. The Tories have always hated it, and today, Theresa May, again, I remind you, this article was from a few years ago, and her divided crew can at least all agree they would like to see the back of May Day. Many traditional celebrations of May Day as the start of the rebirth of nature in the spring still continue. In Oxford, May morning revellers gather below the great tower of Magdalen College to listen to the college choir sing traditional madrigals. Madrigals. I do not know what that word means. Let's find out. Madrigals. Look up madrigals. Madrigal, a part of a song for several voices, especially one of the Renaissance period. Typically unaccompanied and arranged in an elaborate counterpoint. Lovely. Some people usually risk life and limb jumping off the Magdalene Bridge into the all too shallow River Cherwell, Whitstable, Kent, Padstow, Cornwall, etc., etc. Scotland, May Day 2, St Andrews, some students gather on a beach and run naked into the North Sea. I'm all in favour of that sort of stuff. In Edinburgh, the Beltane Festival is held in evening of May Eve and into the early hours. Officially, the Irish May Day holiday is the first Monday in May. So there you go. You can see when I've been in France for May Day, I found French Communist Party stalls selling these fragrant left-wing favours. You can smell a lovely perfume, etc., etc., etc. So there we go. You can see what May Day is. So happy May Day, everybody. Happy Workers' Day. Happy Beltane. Honna Ditch Beltane. So there we go. That's May Day. And in keeping with it, part of the workers, La Obra, Lana Obra Abu, all part of the workers, Uppa workers. That's basically what that means. And I wanted to show you this. I've got a little video for you. I love this. Now, one of the things that we notice when we're talking about, I just wanted to get this little video for you here. Oh no, I have it. What am I talking about? I've got it. One of the things that I've noticed that whenever we're talking about socialism and whenever we're talking to socialists, everything gets very wonky. We know this. This isn't new. If you're a socialist and you're listening to this, you know this already. If you've had a conversation with a socialist and you're not a socialist, you definitely know this. You can hardly have a conversation with a socialist and not go home, not leave it without having homework. 3 big, thick books, which you need another big, thick book to explain what's going on in the first big, thick book. It is very like that. So it's one of the things I try to do on this podcast is I try not to get too wonky. I don't want to have a conversation in socialisty language because I do find that it puts people off. But it's important. It is good. It's not essential, but it is good to know the theory. And if you know the theory, it's great. You can have that conversation with somebody else in that language, with someone else that knows the theory. But if someone else doesn't know the theory, But you can see they've gone through it's almost like an awakening. You don't start dropping words like petty bourgeoisie and the proletariat and all this stuff into the conversation. You don't talk like that. So when I found this video, I just fell in love with this video. This is beautiful. This is a young girl, and she's gone through the awakening. You can see it. You can see the gears working. You can see them moving and moving in through each other as she's talking to the camera. And these kids, these young people all over the world now, started in Columbia University in America, that are protesting against uh, the the treatment of the Palestinians by Israel and the investments of their educational institutions into the industries and the corporations that are building the weapons that are causing the deaths and the devastation and the genocide and the colonization. They're protesting against it, but they're all going through an awakening, and it's a beautiful thing to see. And when you see a mass movement like that, it is inspiring. I was out tonight with People Before Profit putting leaflets around the doors. Actually, I should have brought one in. I have to go. I'm going to go and do some more tomorrow because I have a couple of hours in the morning, and I'm going to go and do some leafleting around my estate. But it's very inspiring when you see these young people going through this. Now, a lot of the people, the spokespeople for the university students, are well versed. They know what they're talking about. They're educated and they know the words, they know the language, right? But this young girl doesn't. But she's saying exactly the same thing, and it's perfect. So let me play you the video, then we'll have a wee discussion about it. Let me just get this started for you here. So,
You know what absolutely sucks? That I am in my 20s right now. I'm in my 20s and I want a house. I want kids. I want to get married. I want to start a life. I want to do all of these things that seem so financially out of reach and seem like they are never going to get any better. And I was talking to my parents about this, and I'm like, Taylor, it was hard for us. It's going to be hard for your kids too. But at the same time, I feel like we're in such a unique time, and I'm not even talking for just people in my age group right now. I'm talking about for everybody in the world. And I think that it's because, and this is my personal take, and maybe your personal take too, but I feel like we are playing into a hand that all of us are playing into a hand that the government so desperately wants us to play into to make us weak. And this hand is not knowing or ignoring the fact that united we stand, divided we fall. And I feel like so many of us are jumping into a category of Republican or liberal, or I voted for this or I voted for that, or I'm against this or I'm against that, that we forgot that we're all on the same team and we're so divided. We have never been more, I think we've never been more divided, especially in my country. And I think we're playing into the hand that they want us to play into. We're just walking into it. I don't know. All right.
yes, my heart's breaking for the wee girl. It really is. She's sincere. She's genuine. What did she say at the start of the video? I want to have a family. I want to own a house. I want to get married. I want to have kids. All normal things that are out of reach for this generation. These things are out of reach for these people. There is no job security for her generation. There's no job security for anybody anymore. But for her you like me may have been old enough to have enjoyed a certain amount of job security. You may be old enough to once to have had the comfort of a social network that will catch you if you fall. Doesn't exist anymore. But You may have experienced that. This girl and these kids, these people like her, have never known it and are terrified. And they're going through an awakening. They're wakening up. And I think it's beautiful. I think it's sad that it has to happen, but I think it's beautiful. They're looking back at what their parents were able to enjoy, their grandparents were able to enjoy, and they're going, why can't I do that? Why can't I do any of that? I have no chance of any of that. Looking at buying a house, are you mad? Never going to happen. Never going to. You're going to rent forever. Like so many of us, they're going to rent forever. And she nails it at the end. We're divided. And this is what work May Day is about. It's about the working class. You're the working class. Now, getting into the wonky language, to use the wonky language of Marx and Engels, you're the proletariat. You're the worker. That's me. That's you. Now, even if you're a manager, you're, to use the language of Marx and Engels, it's called the petty bourgeoisie, right? You're a manager. You're managing the workers on behalf of the capitalist. You're still not a capitalist. You're still a worker. And this is the problem. This is where the division comes in. So we're being divided along our working, or along whatever. The working class is being divided along with these waves of immigrants, refugees, etc., that are coming into Ireland, the United Kingdom. They're running away from the horrible crimes of the empires of the world. And then the working class in parts of the south of Ireland are going out and protesting against them. But the reality is, the working class are concerned, rightly. We haven't got enough school places. We haven't got enough housing for ourselves. Our hospitals are fucking shit. How are we going to deal with all these? Because you can be fucking goddamn sure that those refugees and immigrants, who, by the way, we should take in and who do need our help, they didn't do anything against us. And they're not going to do anything against us. You can be goddamn sure that the millionaires and the capitalists that want those people to come, that offer these working class communities up as refuge for the 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 the, the poorest of the world, they're not going to give their communities and their schools. They're not going to give up their spare rooms and their second houses to house these people. The working class is going to be expected to do it. And what have they done? They have divided us. That's what this girl says. We're divided. And that's when we're weak. When we're divided. I personally, if you vote in Ireland, in the north of Ireland here, Republican, Socialist, Liberal, or even Unionist, or your DUP, or TUV, we all still have the same problems. The working class loyalists still have the worst education, the worst attainments, the worst healthcare, the worst of everything, exactly the same as the working class Catholics, Nationalists, and Republicans. We're a classic example of divided and conquered, which is not accidental. It is done on purpose. And this young girl has figured it out, because America in particular is very divided at the minute in a way that they've never, well, since the Civil War, I mean, I would say that they've never had to experience. And the reason that they're divided, and this is the point, again, getting into, Marx explains all of this. He explains all of this. The capitalist empire will elevate a class of worker and allow them the spoils of capitalism to a point. But eventually, the greed of capitalism will eventually demand even the small bit that it gives to the managerial class, the middle class, the petty bourgeoisie. Even then, even that small amount, because capitalism has all the money, and the little bit that it gives to the middle class, it will even take that. It will take their money, it will take their homes, it will take their jobs and send them somewhere else, to China, to Indonesia, to anywhere, to Haiti, turn Haiti into a living hell and ship American jobs there, to sew Levi jeans and Nike shoes, and then send them back to America and expect the American middle class to pay £150 for a pair of jeans or a pair of shoes that cost them $3 to make from indentured servants in Haiti. Marx tells us all this. He's told us all this. He tells us that this is what's going to happen. And this is what this girl is literally telling us. She's figured it out. I am never going to be able to own a home. I am looking at the promise that was supposed to be my future, and I am watching it disappearing in front of me. She's clearly very smart, clearly very emotionally smart, clearly very clever and very observant, and she can see it. I don't know if she would call herself a socialist. I expect not. But she's expressing socialist ideals without knowing it. But you don't need to know it. You don't need to know the words. But you need to have it in here and in here. What you should do is become undivided. How do we become undivided? You join a political party, you join a union. Because when you're divided, you're weak. Let's listen to her again. I love this. I love this little minute that this girl privileges us she shares with us, and she's given us privilege to express herself, and she's nailing so many things in this moment.
You know what absolutely sucks? That I am in my 20s right now. I'm in my 20s and I want a house. I want kids. I want to get married. I want to start a life. I want to do all of these things that seem so financially out of reach and seem like they are never going to get any better. And I was talking to my parents about this, and I'm like, Taylor, it was hard for us. It's going to be hard for your kids too. But at the same time, I feel like we're in such a unique time, and I'm not even talking for just people in my age group right now. I'm talking about for everybody in the world. And I think that it's because, and this is my personal take, and maybe your personal take too, but I feel like we are playing into a hand that all of us are playing into a hand that the government so desperately wants us to play into to make us weak. And this hand is not knowing or ignoring the fact that united we stand, divided we fall. And I feel like so many of us are jumping into a category of Republican or liberal, or I voted for this or I voted for that, or I'm against this or I'm against that we forgot that we're all on the same team. And we're so divided. I think we've never been more divided, especially in my country. And I think we're playing into the hand that they want us to play into. We're just walking into it. I don't know. All right.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. My heart's breaking for her. It really is. But there you go. So, yeah. So have a think. I want you to have a think about that. She's just expressing what's normal. It's no what she's saying is just normal. And yeah, the poor thing really is. So I want to show you again the big man, JC, James Connolly. I forgot to load this in, so I'm just going to load it in real quick. There we go. What about that? Isn't that gorgeous? So James, the greatest of all. And there's a picture of him there. And that's when he was in America. He started the IWW, the Wobblies, the International Workers of the World, the union we can all join if you want. And I'm going to quote you one of his great speaks. The man who is bubbling over with love and enthusiasm for Ireland and can yet pass unmoved through our streets and witness all the wrong and suffering, the shame and the degradation brought upon the people of Ireland, aye, brought by Irishmen upon Irish men and women, without burning to end it, is in my opinion a fraud and a liar in his heart. No matter how he loves that combination of chemical elements he is pleased to call Ireland. Isn't that fantastic? Absolutely love it. Just change that. There we go. Slow that down a wee bit. Rapid. So here's, just while we're on the great man, how long have we been going? 37 minutes. No bother. Mr. James, here's what is, oh, I thought this was the actual speech. Oh, this is a report from a Labour Day speech in Dublin by James Connolly, but it's a report from the thing. Okay, so I'll just read it to you. Mr. James Connolly said that despite the doubts and fears and hints, this is the Labour Day speech. This was the May Day speech in 1915. You got to remember the next year, 1916. What happened then? Less than a year later, this fucking giant would be dead. Mr. James Connolly said that despite the doubts and fears and hints of some people, we had this year a magnificent turnout. He found some difficulty in speaking to them that day. To make himself heard, he would require to have the lungs of a bull and stay clear of the Defence of the Realm Act, required the subtlety of a lawyer. So they would understand his position. We were living in strange and moving times. The powers that be had seized upon Sean McDermott, Sean McElroy, and Francis Sheehy Skeffington for saying what had already been said 1,000 times. He at least had no desire to go to jail. They had powers that they had used to think were oppressive and tyrannical, fighting for liberty and the freedom of small nations. And when I, continued Mr. Connolly, who have been all my life fighting in my own way for these same subjects, see such a great change come to pass, why should I want to go to prison? Laughter and applause. He was therefore going to give them good advice. He advised them all to join the army. Cries of what army? Is it the citizens' army? Well, I won't insult your intelligence by saying which army, but if I am charged for anything I may say here today, I will call you all as witnesses, if I am allowed, to prove that I advised you all to join the army. So he's the previous. He's not allowed to say anything against the Defence of the Realm Act. He's not allowed to go and tell them to join the IRA. Not openly. He's saying join the army. He's basically just saying, I'm just telling you to join the army. I didn't tell you what army. If you go and join the IRA, that's not on me. It's not my fault. So we continue. His advice was then join the army. Fight for freedom, defend yourselves. He had spent a good deal of his life in decrying force as between a man and man. But if force was to be the sole arbiter, then let those who have right on their side gather all the force they can to help them. His complaint with the resolutions was that they did not go far enough. They asked the government to rebuild the slums, but there was more spent every day on the continent than would rebuild all Ireland. All governments were doing this, and on the continent that would be World War One. All governments were doing this and will continue doing it until the workers took the world into their own hands and ran it for the benefit of those who alone did the world's work, the workers. Sir Thomas More had well expressed the position when he wrote, "I can see nothing in the governments of the world but a conspiracy of the rich for the purpose of robbing the poor." He was beheaded. And was it any wonder that they cut off a head that gave utterance to such wisdom? Peace was the virtue, they were told. And for 40 years, the Home Rule Party had been preaching peace. And it got very little for their pains. On the other hand, Sir Edward Carson, the fucking ball bag, had preached force for a few short months and had got all he demanded. And after Carson had poured contempt on the law and had on 100 platforms urged defiance of the law, he was now Attorney General, having supreme charge of the enforcement of the law. Laughter. I am a law-abiding citizen. Laughter. I believe in the law when it's big enough. Laughter. Why had not the government squelched Carson, as they had always been prepared to squelch the Labour men? As a result of this law-breaking, Carson was now in the cabinet, and Home Rule was indefinitely shelved. If they turned to the ranks of Labour, they would see only class that never sold Ireland. If they turned to the ranks of Labour, they would see the only class that never sold Ireland. Loud applause. When you stand for Labour, you stand for Ireland. Join your union and help in the fight to win back your own land for Labour. Join in the fight for a free and regenerated Ireland, which will emancipate not alone yourselves, but your children and your children's children. Top of the page. I read the instructions on the speech there, like Joe Biden reading the directions in his speeches. So there we go. So happy May Day, everybody. I hope you's become a wee bit more aware. And like the girl, the young lady in the video, I hope your working class awareness and consciousness is awakening. Because if we don't do something about it, it's going to get worse. It will not get better by itself. You got to remember, the people of Britain, not the people of Ireland. No one in Ireland has ever had a choice in who became Prime Minister. But the people of England and Scotland and Wales voted in a fucking half-wit called Liz Truss to be the Prime Minister. And she was... I could have told her. I could have told them that... But I was going to say, I could have told them that she was an idiot. They knew she was an idiot and they voted her in anyway. Check this out. I've got this great video. There's this comedian called Ian Stone. And I like him. And check this out.
Talking again, I mean, the fucking cheek of the woman. The cheek of the woman. If I fucked up that badly, I'd never say another fucking word in public. I'd be a mute, wouldn't you? I'd go and work as a mime on Oxford Street.
He's talking about Liz Truss, by the way.
That woman painted silver, leaning on a cane with no visible means of support. Is that the former Prime Minister, Liz Truss? Yes, it is. Good. She should shut the fuck up. She's written a book called 10 Years to Save the West. 49 days, right? And I'm not saying she killed the Queen. I'm really not. I'm really not. days she was Prime Minister and the Queen was dead. Something happened.
Mad. I'm not saying feeling sorry for the Queen here, but when you think of all, and I'm not saying Margaret Thatcher was a lovely person. We clearly know she wasn't, but she wasn't an idiot. And when you think of all the massive personalities that have been the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Great Britain and Northern Ireland, in the time of that woman's reign, and the one that when she dies, the person that's left in charge of it is that fucking dingbat. I've done an episode on this podcast about how stupid that woman is. You can go back and check it out in the archive. She is a complete half-wit. Stick it again. I love that. Oh, didn't load. There we go. We'll go again. To be quick to get the sound on.
I mean, the fucking cheek of the woman. The cheek of the woman. If I fucked up that badly, I'd never say another fucking word in public. I'd be a mute, wouldn't you? I'd go and work as a mime on Oxford Street. Mummy, that woman painted silver, leaning on a cane with no visible means of support. Is that the former Prime Minister, Liz Truss? Yes, it is. Good. She should shut the fuck up. She's written a book called 10 Years to Save the West. 49 days, right? And I'm not saying she killed the Queen. I'm really not. But you know what? The 2 days she was Prime Minister and the Queen was dead. Something happened.
Brilliant. Love this guy. Check this other one out. This is
Looks like Sir Keir Starmer's going to be our new Prime Minister. We're excited. Okay. You what? He's what? He's never going to be the Prime Minister. Do you ever read anything? Keir Starmer, the leader of the Labour Party. Well, because votes. That'll probably be the way it works. I mean, he could try and take the country in some sort of coup, but fuck it. He's 27 points ahead. He might as well just hang in there. You what? You didn't even understand it. Well, it's great to chat.
brilliant. How's he going to be Prime Minister? Well, he could take the country in a coup, but he may as well hold on. He's 27 points ahead in the opinion polls. Fantastic. So, this one, right, I want to share this with you. Now, this is great. There's an Irish journalist, political commentator called Ted Bowes. Don't know anything about the guy. Don't know what his politics are. But he lives in Moscow, or he spends a lot of time in Moscow. I think he lives there. And as I read to you at the beginning, May Day is International Workers' Day. And it's celebrated in Russia as well. So they have a big May Day parade. And it's a part, I think in Russia, now they call it, is it the Great Patriotic thing? They do another big one as well, where they celebrate the defeat of the Nazis, World War II, and they celebrate I don't think it's this one. Maybe it's a different one. I've got my international bank holidays mixed up. But so this guy Ted Bowes, he lives over there in Moscow, or he spends a lot of time there in Moscow. So and there's a big parade, and a part of the parade. Now this is what I'm showing you. This video is a few minutes, 5 minutes, so you have a bit of a listen to Che. Um, Che. A part of the parade is the Russian military have on display various pieces of captured Western military hardware from the war in Ukraine, tanks and the like. So let's check it out. And there's millions of people all coming to see it. He'll explain to you better than I can. Check it out.
Hey everybody, happy May Day. So I've returned to Park Pobjedi, where I came to show you guys the setup of this NATO exhibition. It's called Trophies. It's a beautiful day in Moscow. But what's absolutely remarkable about what is happening here today is that there are literally, I'd say, hundreds of thousands of people have come to view this exhibition. It's absolutely remarkable. Just ordinary Russians, just all here. As you can see, huge queues. I mean, the metro, I've never seen the metro so full of people. All here to view this exhibition. Absolutely incredible. Vast amounts of people. Of course, the Western media will tell you that all of these people are in some way involved in some sort of political project. But of course, that's complete bull. They're here to support their army, their country, in their tens and tens of thousands. It's a huge draw, a huge attraction. And I know Jens Stoltenberg was very upset about this, that the Russians were displaying this NATO equipment. And it was very offensive to NATO and NATO countries, who propagated and started this war in the first place with Russia and are now losing. So I can imagine why they think it's so offensive.
This is true, by the way. Just jump in. Jens Stoltenberg has actually asked the Russians, Putin, to not have this display because it's offensive to NATO. That's true. Unfucking believable. It is the hubris of these fucking ghouls, unelected, by the way, ghouls, is staggering to me.
But in reality, when you see this turnout, you gotta say that this is of it for the government and for essentially the belief that what's happening in Ukraine is unfortunately absolutely necessary. I mean, the crowds stretch on for a couple of kilometers, really, all the way up to the huge pavilion. Let me show you. I mean, if I can get up here, I might be able to show you a bit more. Look at this, guys. There's literally tens and tens and tens of thousands of people have come today to begin, I suppose, the celebration of the holiday for Victory Day on the 9th of May. But this doesn't look like a society, a country oppressed, unhappy with themselves. Привет. Как дела?
Отлично.
Это очень хорошо, да?
Да.
Что ты думаешь? Я журналист-ирландец.
Окей. Мне кажется, вообще, выставка, она...
Говорит по-английски? Чуть-чуть.
Yes,
What do you think about this?
I think it's good.
It's good to see. A lot of people come out today for the military, to support the army, support the country. It's very interesting. In the West, the media would say that this is all staged, that it's not real, that you've been put here to talk to me.
Yeah, okay.
So what do you think? This is a huge attraction for people. They've all come.
But the metro is good, not a lot of people in.
A lot of people in it, yeah.
The weather is good.
What does your badge say? Dobro?
Душный.
Dushny.
It's like happy, добродушный is happy, but with negative context.
Yeah. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Удачи. Давай. So, there's a young man among tens of thousands of others who've come here today to see what's on display. Leopard tanks, M113, Bradley, thousands of families as well, all here to celebrate and support their military and do what normal people do in societies that have been pushed to the point where their army have had to go and do things that most wish they didn't have to do, which is fight at all. And the numbers are just incredible. They keep coming, tens and tens of thousands of people pouring into this park. And any suggestion in the Western media that this isn't a show of support for the government or a show of cohesion and togetherness in Russian society is a complete lie. But of course they won't report on this. You won't see this on CNN. Steve Rosenberg is nowhere to be found here today, I'd imagine, trying to find a single person in this crowd to say that they're against the display of this military equipment. You'll never find it. Absolutely incredible scenes, remarkable.
Well,
Anyway, from Moscow, see you soon.
so there we go. And the reason I wanted to show you that was because I had a conversation with my father the other day, and my dad's one of the good ones, like, but he still watches the news, still watches the BBC and things like that. He's a man of a certain age. I mean, my God, he's 75 the other day. 75. He's a few health issues, but we're hopefully we're getting him an operation in June that might give him a bit more quality of life. But regardless, he still, he obviously doesn't do Twitter and things like that, so he doesn't get his news from places that I can get my news. He doesn't know what a podcast is. Has no interest in such things. So we have conversations, and he doesn't. When he's talking, when Shea Bozer is talking about, if you're watching the media in the West, I'm thinking about Madaya, you see. So, and I hear what Madaya says, and then I tell her, I says, no, that's not right. And then I explain a few things, and we have a conversation, and he goes, right, okay, I understand now. And he's great that way. You can talk to him about these things. But what I'm saying to you is, if you're watching those outlets, and fewer people are, I mean, it has to be said, the viewing figures for the biggest news networks, the biggest news outlets in the world, are absolutely pathetic for the budgets that they have, for the reach that they have. And in the United Kingdom, in air quotes, united, me arse, united at the point of a gun. In the United Kingdom, we're forced to pay a TV license, same as in the south of Ireland, on threat of being put in jail. And even at that, there's still nobody watching the fucking BBC. The viewing figures are pathetic. There are podcasts, not mine unfortunately, but there are podcasts out there with bigger numbers, more eyeballs. And they've even now, and one of the reasons again with this whole TikTok situation, with the attempted ban of it, so-called ban of it, they're just going to try and sell it to somebody that's going to be more sympathetic to the regime. But even with the complete connivance and assistance, I was talking with my comrade Paddy tonight when I was out leafleting. The Lurgan Palestinian Solidarity Committee Twitter account and Instagram, it's all shadow banned. Facebook page, sorry, it's just shadow banned. They get two likes, and they look at the insights and 6 people seen this, despite there being 1,500 members of the page and stuff like that. So we know that, and we know that YouTube, like, I've been getting my news from YouTube for years and years and years. And I didn't go to YouTube originally to get my news from the BBC or CNN or Fox News or MSNBC or ITV or Channel 4 or or the Times or those places were all completely devoid of any credibility to me even then. I went to get my news from people like me doing this, which is why this inspires me to do this. And then YouTube becomes completely co-opted that whenever I go and search for news, the first load of suggestions on the YouTube algorithm that come up are all legacy media. Snippets from their television broadcasts, which is nothing but CIA, deep state establishment, MI5, corporate press releases read out by a fancy lady and a fancy man in a suit. It offends me. So if you're watching those outlets, what are they telling you about Russia? What are they telling you what's going on over there? They're telling you that Alex Navalny was a great hero and the people in Russia are outraged at his death. No. He's a minority figure. And again, typical of the West, a fucking Nazi, a right-wing fascist. Of course, he's been celebrated in the West because that's what the West does with Nazis. Oh, we love our Nazis. Can't get enough of the Nazis. The Russians defeated the Nazis. The West did not. So, the point of me showing you that video is just for that reason. Just as I explained. So, let's get to it. We're nearly done. I'm going to finish up now. I think I'm going. All right. So I told you I'm going to finish. I'm going to interview two people next week. I'm going to interview Paddy Fox, but I'm not going to talk about that now because it's very complicated. I asked Paddy could I interview him, and he asked me could I give him till next week till he gets, because it's all stuff that's going on in courts and legal shit, and he needs to get it and he needs to decompress and get it all figured out in his own head exactly what's happened. So I was delighted to do that, happy to do that. So with this guy, Dara Adelaide. Now I told you about him earlier. Now he was in. This video went viral, and he's going to talk with us next week, right? And it's brilliant. And he was protesting. Or counter protesting this right wing fascist element that has appeared in Ireland over the past couple of years. And I don't care what anybody says. If you're fucking friends with loyalists, you're no friend of mine or Ireland. And they were counter protesting. So this guy went up. This guy Dwyer, your man Dwyer, goes up to Dara and challenges him. So this guy Dwyer is an Irish patriot. That's what he's an Irish patriot. He loves, as Connolly said, a love of Ireland. Any man whose heart overflows with the love of Ireland but can ignore the torn and tattered of among us. Yeah, fuck that guy. He's no Irishman. So check this out. This is Dara, and we're going to talk to him next week. And so I just wanted to let you know who this is. Again, you guys that are listening, you can go and check all this out on the YouTube if you want to watch these videos. But you can, first of all, by the way, I should say, yes, for those of you that are listening to this, Dara is black. Right? So this fucking wanker goes up to him to challenge him because he's black and he's counter-protesting these fascists. Right? I'm going to ask Dara about all this next week. But watch what Dara does. Dara gets him and fucking spins him like a top. Watch.
Oh, Lord God. Do you want to do an interview, young man? Young man, would you like to do an interview? I'm going to do an interview. Have a civilised conversation. I want us to talk to you.
I'm a Gwelga, yeah.
I'm with you.
Ain't for talk to and sure.
Neil Higgum.
Neil Higgin to Gwelga. Ain't for will to and sure.
Were you sent by an NGO to learn
I'm
Irish?
not gone Gaelga.
Did an NGO bring you here?
Hey, Stockton, it's Iron O'Coggan on show knock will Gaelga egge. Ni no Shunok hay, ni Reblunok hay, Toshe, a Gwynna Carty and Ganon dinner, Neil Gwelger Begge, Tararash Omegan, Tog the Quid Gwelga lat Augustine.
Mohan Fire, Mohan Fire.
So this fucking fascist that you can see with a fucking asshole with a big stupid head goes and picks Dara out of this crowd of counter protesters to challenge him because he's black. And what does Dara do? Talks to him in Irish. And what does your man do? Ní Higgum. He can't understand. That's what Ní Higgum means. I don't understand. Which is where dig it comes from. I told you about that before. Ní Higgum. Ní Higgum. That's where the Irish and the black people were putting together in New York, working together. Yeah. And the black guys, with the Irish guys, they were talking to each other and said, Ní Higgum. And that eventually the black guys would go, dig. Do you dig it? Can you dig it? Dig it. Higgum. That's where it comes from. So the guy goes, Ní Higgum. He doesn't understand Irish. To a black Irishman. Right? That's it again. It's a moment of true beauty. This went viral. 980,000 views just on Twitter alone. I'm sure it went far more than that on TikTok.
Oh, Lord God. Do you want to do an interview, young man? Young man, would you like to do an interview? I'm going to do an interview. Have a civilised conversation. I want us to talk.
Have a civilised conversation. Again, another fucking dig there because he's black. Let's have a civilised conversation. Fucking prick.
I'm a Gwelga, yeah.
I'm with you.
Ain't for talk to and sure.
Neil Higgum.
Neil Higgin to Gwelga. Ain't for will to and sure.
Were you sent by an NGO to learn
I'm
Irish?
not gone Gaelga.
Did an NGO bring you here?
Hey, Stockton, it's Iron O'Coggan on show knock will Gaelga egge. Ni no Shunok hay, ni Reblunok hay, Toshe, a Gwynna Carty and Ganon dinner, Neil Gwelger Begge, Tararash Omegan, Tog the Quid Gwelga lat Augustine.
Mohan Fire, Mohan Fire.
Isn't that beautiful? There he is. His big class face. By the way, he's actually a comrade of mine. He's in People Before Profit. So he's out. I was hoping to get him this week, but he's out canvassing because there's an election down south happening soon. So there's the post originally. Again, Dara says, thanks for all the positive comments and a massive thanks to all the locals who came out to stand up to Dwyer. Now, I don't know who this Dwyer is, so I'm going to ask Dara about all this. We'll get this cleared up next week. Clondalkin is a welcoming and growing community, won't give in to division. And remember what the young girl said at the beginning about division? We're being divided. We're being divided purposefully. It's not an accident. Don't think for a second that it's an accident. It is not. And then he goes on to say, Dwyer and his thugs are driven by hatred. They go on about defending Ireland and protecting women. In reality, they don't care about either. That's why they make no effort to learn Irish as supposed patriots, and why they assaulted a woman at our protests. And there's the lady that was assaulted at the protest. When I confronted him in Irish, wait till you hear this. When I confronted him in Irish, he accused me of being paid by an NGO to learn Irish and protest against them. He must know nothing about Clondalkin, as we've had a vibrant Irish-speaking community for years. And we don't have to be paid state actors to speak it. Far-right grifters have used anger about the housing crisis, among other things, to whip up hatred against refugees. As well as confronting them, we need to build a mass progressive movement against the cost of living to drown out the far right. And lastly, I'll be running in the local elections in Clondalkin next year. So there you go. That's fantastic. He must be out canvassing for himself tonight. I didn't know that. So if he's going to give me any time at all, I'd be very honoured if you would. That would be brilliant. So isn't that great? Absolutely delighted. And again, the message of this podcast is that this episode is about division. We mustn't be divided. And there are issues in our working class communities that we have to confront, but blaming those that have the least of us, those that come into our communities that with literally the shoes on their backs, the shoes on their feet and the coat on their backs, it is not their fault. I am not scared of the Muslim ladies I see walking around in hijabs around here and their wee boys who are now playing hurling in the local park. And I see them playing football and speaking some language. I fuck knows what it is. I don't care. They don't frighten me. Rishi Sunak scares the shit out of me. The Tories scare the shit out of me. And this current rise in right-wing sentiment in Ireland is so transparent to me, but it's scary as well because the literal issues of the housing crisis, of schooling, of healthcare, that were not caused by immigrants, refugees, asylum seekers, economic migrants, or not caused by these people, caused by us, our own. As Connolly says, the man whose love is overflowed, and then, fuck you. But these issues are being used, literally what they call a wedge issue. A wedge divides us. And that's what it is. And what side of the wedge are you on? Do we blame the migrant, who it's not their fault? And by the way, I do think it's absolutely, just to clear, I do think it's ridiculous that Ireland accepted 70,000 refugees from Ukraine. First of all, I think it's ridiculous that there's a war in Ukraine. It doesn't need to be one. You know my thoughts on that. We'll go into that some other time. But I do think it's ridiculous that Ireland accepted these with nowhere to put them. But it's not their fault. They have to go somewhere. It's not their fault. It's not the working class community's fault into which they are parachuted. It's not their fault either. It's the fault of who? You can't blame the people with no money. You can't blame the people who have nothing. We must point the finger of blame, if we're to point it, and we should be pointing it, at them that have the means to fix the issues in our society. As the young lady in the video at the beginning pointed out, that class awakening, where she's starting to realise, she's realising now that the things that she thought she was going to have within her life, the promise that her life was supposed to unfold in front of her, has been taken away. But she, unlike these fucking idiots, realised very young that the blame is not of those that don't have it, or don't have anything. She sees these issues as being wedge issues. She used the word, we're being divided. Doesn't matter who you vote for, Republican, Liberal, or Democrat, or whatever. That's not the point. That's not the issue. You might be a very socially conservative person. You might be you go to mass or whatever on a Sunday, and you observe your holy days, and you're very into you're straight, white, all that sort of stuff. I don't care. Are you working class? Right? Well, we need to figure out the working class issues that we all can avail of. Are you pro-LGBTQ? I assume that you are if you're watching this, as I am myself. But those matters and issues, although important, are not the most important. And the best way that we can help our LGBTQ plus brothers and sisters that need her is by doing what? How do we? It's not that we don't ignore the issues or talk about it. We do. We talk about the issues and we don't ignore the issues. But it's not the most important issue. How do we help them the most? By giving them healthcare. World-class healthcare that we can afford to pay. We can afford to pay for, by the way. Our trans brothers and sisters. Mental health services. medical services, educational services for our young people coming through. No matter your means, no matter how much money you have in the bank, you're going to get a world-class education because it's there and we can do it. We can afford it. What's the colour of your skin? Doesn't fucking matter. There you go. You've got healthcare and you've got an education. Have you a house to live in? There you go. We can afford it. Let's do it. But these issues are being used literally to divide us. And because we're letting the people that need our help the most and the people that have the least among us to become the tip of the fucking battering ram of the wedge, the tip of the wedge to divide our community, we're not getting the things that we all need, which is healthcare, education and housing. And through all those things, we will make our own opportunity because we're the working class, goddammit, and we're strong and we're smart and we can fucking do it if we stop being divided. So there we go. That's the show. That's the episode. Thank you all for listening. As I always say, please like, share, and subscribe. Where is my theme tune? Why is it not coming on? Oh, there it is. So, as I say, like, share, and subscribe. If you want to, fire over to Patreon for as little as well, the only tier I have, as you know, is £1 a month. If you don't want to do the Patreon, throw a couple of bucks as a one-off whenever you feel like it, and to buy me a coffee. Yeah, I know, it's amazing what they can do nowadays. Yeah, and I'll see you next week with 2 great episodes. By the way, as I always say, please share, if you will. Please share. Please send out to your friends. Share it on your social medias and all the rest of it. As was already mentioned, the algorithm kills podcasts like this. I am literally hitting every red flag in Google's in the Google mainframe. Israel, Palestine, Russia, Ukraine, socialism, James Connolly, etc., etc. People like me are being killed. We're not getting out there. And if you want to watch the video, you can do on Patreon. It's uploaded to Patreon, so you don't have to go through the bullshit with the ads on YouTube if you want to do that. Or you can go to YouTube as well. You can just watch it and endure their advertising. Bizarre advertising. I can't believe these companies are making money. The things that they try to sell me is insane. But anyway, so there we go. All done, everybody.